So I'm Ariel Rosenberg. I'm a partner manager on the business development team for local services ads. Um, Worked with HighLevel on this integration that we'll get into a little bit later on.
Quick intro for myself. Hi, Elise Goldman. I've been in the local services team for about 4 years at Google, and I work with all of our large agencies and nationwide brands with our local service ads, activation, and support.
So this is what we're going to go over today. So we're first going to give you a bit of an intro into what Google Local Services Ads is, in case anyone didn't know. Talk about the value prop here with the Google badge, and then understand how agencies can interact with our ads product. And then once you have a pretty good sense of what local services ads is, we'll talk about this integration in particular, which is booking with local services ads. So talk about why booking, what the integration looks like, and then how to enable it with HighLevel. So I'm going to pass it off to Elise for that first part of it, and I'll jump back in when we talk about booking.
Sounds good. Thank you. If you want to go to the next slide, we're going to start with a little video. Can you enlarge
with
it?
Local Services by Google,
Sure thing.
customers connect with small businesses around them. To meet some, we're in Dallas today.
Can you guys see it when I enlarge it?
Yes,
Okay, cool.
all's good.
My name is Karen. I am the owner and managing director of Gmates. Juan and I started cleaning houses 15 years ago by ourselves. We built a company from the ground up.
Karen and Juan rely on Google to help them reach new customers in their community.
Clients don't really visit our office. Google shows us as humans behind this digital storefront. Having the Google guarantee checkmark does reassure the client that we're a legit business, so there's a lot of value in that. We pay living wages and benefits to our employees. It's very important for us that they work with dignity and respect.
Today, Karen spends less time finding new clients and more growing her team.
Google gives us freedom of time to develop and train our cleaning teams. For us to have an eco-friendly company, it's key. I am personally very allergic and I have reactions to toxic chemicals. So to be able to provide that service to other families, that means we're making an impact in our city. We can specifically say which areas we want to service so our clients know that we're part of their community.
With Local Services, things have taken off for Gmates.
Our traffic increased significantly and it allowed us to get more business. We believe there are other entrepreneurs conscious of the environment like us who want to bring eco-friendly services to their community.
Great. Thanks so much. Well, hope you learned a couple of new things about local services, and we're going to continue to talk through the product a little bit more. If you want to go ahead and go to the next slide. So local service, it's a lead generation ad product on search right now on both mobile and desktop search that makes it easy for local service area businesses to connect with people in their service community who are looking for jobs that they offer. It's easy to advertise the types of services and jobs that you want, as well as there's a whole CRM platform to help you track your performance and kind of manage your bookings if you want within the app. You can see all on the bottom right-hand side is a little scheduling icon, which we're going to talk about more with kind of the high-level integration of being able to both have phone calls as well as book directly within the local services ad. What you heard in the video is there's a lot of kind of trust on the consumer side by having the badge, either the Google Guaranteed or Google Screen badge. Consumers like you or me, when we book a job, we know that they're with a qualified, trusted professional, which just really helps peace of mind when you're talking about bringing in maybe a plumber or an HVAC professional into your house or even going into a business. And I see Christy commenting, we are going to talk more about what is involved in getting the Google Guaranteed if you keep going to the next slide. So this is showing where the Google badge shows up. It's at the top of search. So on the left, you see an ad of what you see on your phone. So again, if you guys have your phone on you, go ahead and Google plumbers near me or HVAC professional near me, install a toilet near me, and you'll see the ad. On mobile, we show 2 different businesses. And then on a desktop or computer screen, you would see 3 different businesses within the ad. Different types of what we would call like vertical, so family law, plumbers, or HVAC professionals have different ads. So on the left is the ad you would see on the home services side, which does not include the headshot photo. And on the right is what we have our professional services. So our lawyers, financial planners, tax specialists. The ad shows that Google screened versus Google guaranteed, as well as the headshots. You can actually feature who are the lawyers or the professionals in your business that the consumer would be engaging and talking to.
I want to jump in here and point out what I love about this is notice that the normal ads that we're all used to are down here and the Google guaranteed is above it, right? So it's literally the first thing that we see, and you get the nice like seal of approval here, which I'm sure has a serious sort of psychological effect for consumers.
Yes, and feel free to keep jumping in with more thoughts as we go through. So I saw someone say the plumbing is not showing near me. I know we have a kind of a global call, so I'm not sure where everyone is based, but what I'm showing on screen here is all the different service categories that local services is available on today. Availability will vary based on the city, state, and even country. So for example, on the right-hand side, things like professional services, people care, pet, wellness, and education are only in the US. Whereas for some of the home services, we're in the US, Canada, and different Western European countries such as, Ireland, UK, France, Switzerland. You can see, we'll send out the deck afterwards to get the whole list of where we're available in what countries. But it's possible that, when you're searching, you may not be in an area that one, the local services ad is available in, or two, we may not have enough businesses to make the ad show. Because as I mentioned, we require a minimum of 2 on phone and 3 on desktop. So if there's only one plumber who wants to service the specific zip code you're in, the ad will not show, which is why we're kind of talking to you as a really great opportunity to help bring on new clients and take advantage of local services ads. So yes,
I was going to say, I saw a bunch of comments pop up that are all kind of in the same vein. Are you guys actively adding more to this, or is this like a locked up set that's not going to change?
We're constantly evolving. Local services started about in 2015 as a pilot across home service verticals, and then expanded in 2020 to professional services. The people and wellness, education, and pet care recently got added, and we are constantly evaluating what are the new services we want to go into, as well as what countries does this make sense for. So definitely expanding to keep your eyes open as we launch in more places and for more categories. The main benefits, I think we kind of saw them or alluded to in the video, but one is showing up on search above all the other text and organic ads. So these businesses show up at the top of Google search. It's a great way to book local jobs. So we're showing up on the queries for plumber near me, fix a toilet near me, not for remote plumbers or DIY searches on how do I fix my toilet myself. It's really geared towards very high consumer intent queries where people are looking for a professional to help them complete the job. You're only paying for results. So you're only paying for qualified leads, whether that's a phone call, a booked lead, which we hope you guys enable with HighLevel, or a message. You're not paying for clicks. You're not paying for impressions. You're only paying for qualified calls. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. What is a qualified call? And you have the ability to pause your ad at any time. We know that within these service businesses, business could be really booming and you're not looking for more leads. And then the next day you're trying to get more leads. You're going out of office. The business is seasonal and cyclical. We want to make sure that the ad is easy for you to monitor as you go through your different capacity and needs as a business.
All right.
I think there were some questions about what is the Google guarantee and where does the Google screened. Both badges signify that Google has done verification and vetting on all businesses before we allow them to advertise. But the main difference is that the Google guarantee is also a money back promise. So if a consumer books a HVAC job and they're unhappy with the service, we always recommend them contacting that initial HVAC business they booked the job with. But if they're unable to make it right, they can always contact Google, and there's up to $2,000 money back promise that Google offers on the Google Guaranteed Pros. The home services are Google Guaranteed. So like I said, plumber, HVAC, house cleaning, carpet cleaning, general contracting. And if you go to the next slide, we have the Google Screen Badge, which is more for our professional services. So things like lawyers, financial planners, as well as some of our newer categories like preschool, business, or tutors. So the Google Screen also signifies that Google has done verification and vetting on the businesses, but there is no money back promise for these. So the main difference between the two is whether or not there's a money back guarantee versus they both have the vetting.
Got it. That's
I'm
pretty
seeing a lot
cool.
of questions.
See so this one's guaranteed money back, and this one is screened and vetted.
Correct. They're both
Cool.
screened and vetted, but the Google Guaranteed includes the money back promise. And I'm gonna wait to maybe address some of the questions till the end. We could also maybe help compile them because I know there's a couple of themes. So I can address them towards the end. We will have time for questions.
Okay, cool.
Keep going to the next. Alrighty, so we definitely recommend using local services and Google Ads together for a few reasons. One, they're complementary products, really going after lead gen service businesses for clients looking to capitalize on all stages of the funnel. Local services is very intentional with what keywords the ad will trigger on. So we don't trigger on branded queries, so something as, you know, a certain business name. We're not on all different searches. It's a very preset list of, like I mentioned, very high consumer intent. So plumber near me, house cleaner near me, house cleaner in Miami, all location service category searches. It's another way to get additional real estate. So a lot of these service businesses are using Google Business Profiles, and they have their organic listing and they show up in the maps. They also may have text ads or YouTube ads. This is another way of getting additional real estate. And as we talked about, it shows up at the top of Google search. So it also is the prime location where most people come to Google to find a business to help them with what they're looking for. Better efficiency. So thinking about the overall cost of leads across multiple channels is something to consider. And then we talked about the more reach, really just how do you kind of capitalize on all the different keywords and areas that your clients are looking for. It is possible for any search to show up with local services ads, as well as have that same business be in Google ads and text ads down below, as well as showing up in the maps and the organic. So it is possible to have multiple listings within one page on search.
Next.
You could, yep. The next few slides are going to talk a little bit more about like account setup and management. So one, we definitely recommend for agencies to kind of set up a manager account or MCC, and then a specific one for just local services. So creating a sub MCC for all your local services campaigns to manage within. And then you could have individual customer IDs or CIDs for each of your clients. Depending on how you as an agency want to manage your clients, some agencies like to give access so that their clients could go in and manage their ad on their own, pause, unpause. Other agencies like to have full control and make it, you know, that the agency takes care of all the needs and that the client only needs to work with the agency and the agency takes care of everything for them. Both models work. It just really depends on what you're trying to optimize for. But those are all different scenarios. When setting up a profile, it's different than the normal Google Ads interface that you would create accounts in. So there are things that are kind of within your control. So first, as you would go and say, I'm a roofing business, and you would say, I do roofing. And you could see this business here on the left is both roofing and general contracting. Within each of those, you know, high-level verticals, there's a bunch of different job types underneath that you as a business can select which job types you do. For some categories, you may do everything. For others, you may only do one or two. You kind of have control on what types of keywords you want your ads to show up for. I will say that if, let's say you're a general contractor and you want to show up for the general contractor near me, generic Google search, if Google does it, if we don't know what the consumer is actually looking for, because it's a really generic general contractor near me, Google is normally more willing to kind of rank and match the business that does the most amount of job types at the top. However, some people may search for, general contractor for my deck and patio, in which case a business that has deck and patio signed up would kind of, rank towards top. So I never want to say select all job types if you're not willing to do it, but selecting your job types is one way of helping with ranking. Again, if we sometimes do not know what the consumer is actually looking for, and it's a very broad consumer search. On the right, and I'm gonna say on the right is for service areas. So you get to select which job types do you want your ad to show for, as well as what zip codes and coverage area are you willing to travel. So you could go in the map and kind of put in the county or the city and kind of select, I want my ad to show up for all searches from these counties and zip codes. So these are kind of things within your control to determine who gets to see your ad. Next slide. In order to get the badge, there is a different verifications that all businesses have to go through, and they vary depending on the state, the country, and the type of service. So for example, if you are an HVAC business, we may require the business owner and all field workers to be background checked. Whereas if you're a law firm, since part of your licensing with the bar includes a background check, Google does not ask you to go through a background check just to sign up for local services. So again, there's a website you can go to or work with a rep to figure out what are the different requirements based on the vertical and the state or country that you're looking to sign up for. But they range between background checks, licenses, insurance, and then our advanced verification for locksmiths and garage doors.
This is great. I mean, this is honestly really like for a consumer to know that all these things have been done. It's obviously gives you a sense of security. So if we can get our clients to this level, this seems like a huge advantage.
Definitely. And within the ad too, it shows this business, it includes the license number in the ad, whether or not they're background checked and insured, and really does provide peace of mind for the consumer booking. So we do see really good conversion rates and that high on the quality of calls as compared to maybe some other ad products because of the badge, as well as the high consumer intent of the searches. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time going through each of these.
I was going to say, should I just cruise through them? You kind
but just we will send out the deck after. So yeah, so here's the background checks. The next one is licenses. So like I said, some verticals require you to provide your actual license number. And then we have a team in a mix of machine learning that actually goes on the back end and matches it up with the state database to make sure they are licensed. Insurance check, same thing, require a minimum general liability insurance that ranges anywhere from maybe $100,000 for some businesses up to $1 million in general liability for others. So there's definitely a range and spectrum depending on the potential harm to person or property or theft. Some of them were allowing people in your home, other businesses were going to their home. So depending on, a few different factors determines what requirements we require. And then last, we kind of talked about advanced verification, which is even more vetting for locksmith and garage doors, which are really high duress verticals that we want to make sure if someone's locked out of their house, we're really doing our due diligence to make sure that it's a good person that's trusted is showing up at your doorstep.
Makes sense.
The final steps is once you kind of go through all the verification, you set up your profile, is the payment and billing. The way it works is you set up an average weekly budget based on the number of leads you want to receive in any given week. We have some recommendations, but there's always a way for you to kind of set your own budget. You may exceed, we could try to match that you never exceed your weekly, but it's possible you may exceed your weekly, but you'll never exceed your monthly max. And then, like I said, you only have to pay for qualified leads. So if you say you're a house cleaning business in San Jose and you receive a call for a plumber in New York, or a house cleaner outside of your area that you said you would target, there's an ability to go in and dispute the lead and receive a credit. So
Cool.
again, you're only paying for leads that you said you want to receive, both on the zip codes and the job
So they have
types
two
that you
fees,
want to
but they-
cover.
Yeah.
Uh,
All right, you could.
Yeah.
Okay.
okay, cool. Thanks.
So this is what the lead box looks like. So you can see all the leads that come through. You can choose to manage it within the local services ads, like lead dashboard, or else other agencies or other clients use our API to kind of link and hook it into whatever CRM platform you're used to using. It's totally up to you. But there is a way to kind of store and manage all the different leads, both the ones that are new and booked. All the calls are recorded. So whenever a consumer makes a call off of Google search, it says there's a little whisper tone that lets them know the call is being recorded. And you could actually go back in and listen to the call. This is really great, especially for the businesses and the CEOs that have intake specialists receiving the calls. There's kind of that built-in quality assurance to kind of go back and listen to how your rep handled the call, or even like you hang up and like, oh, wait, I forgot. What was their name? Did I get it right? What service were they looking for? What was their address? You could come back in here and listen to all the calls, which is a huge value add for a lot of businesses that don't have their own, recording system on their end.
Yep. And Virgil asked, can we link this with HighLevel? Yes, we're going to talk about that in a couple of minutes. So you'll get all the functionality with HighLevel for these leads as well. You won't have to go into Google to listen to the recordings. You can do that right in HighLevel, and more. So we'll get there in a sec.
Some just best practices. It is an auction-based product. So the things that do impact your ranking are, we call it the 3 R's. So radius, reviews, and responsiveness. So radius is, all the zip codes you're willing to serve. Reviews will rely on Google Business Profile reviews, and we always encourage more reviews, high ratings, as that impacts your ranking. And then responsiveness. So the number of calls you answer over the total calls you received. The last thing we want to do is a consumer sees the ad, calls the business, and the business doesn't answer. So we definitely want to be matching consumers with businesses who are picking up their phones, because that's the experience that a consumer is expecting when they call a phone number. We recommend maximizing leads as the bidding mode. And then there are different differentiators that you can add in, like different call outs. So locally owned, BBB approved. And on the right, you can kind of see an example of what the profile would look like for a certain business. That includes things like whether they're licensed, if they pass background checks, their phone number, their service areas, and then the details and services they offer. So we kind of create our own local services ads profile for each of the businesses. So we're really driving businesses to call or book directly and get more information through the page. We're not really trying to drive traffic to the website. So in fact, you actually don't even need a website to advertise on local services ads, which is great for some of the smaller businesses that may not have an online presence. This is a great, easy way to kind of get online without the hassle of a website.
And I do want to pause there for a second and just point out the fact, everybody watching, what the number 2 factor here is, which is reviews, right? We want to make sure that we are helping our clients generate reviews consistently. Sean loves to tell a story about the very first HighLevel client who's still the only direct customer, I believe, and all that we are doing for them is generating reviews on autopilot. So definitely make sure, if you are not offering that as a service, you should consider it, because look at how it contributes to the paid ad algorithm.
Yeah, I think the latest Bright and Local 2022 report said that 77% of people always or regularly read reviews when browsing for local businesses, and it's up a lot from the past 2 years. So reviews definitely matter for service area businesses.
Yep. And when we talk about our new integration, we can obviously piggyback right off the back of that and automate a review request. So works out quite nicely.
And the last slide, I'll just leave it for you guys to kind of peruse, are some of the customer testimonials, really talking about the high quality of calls, the volume of calls, and really what the trust of the badge does for the business and helping them convert the phone calls into clients and bookings.
Alrighty.
And with that, I'm going to pass it over and happy to answer questions at the end.
All right.
Great. So I'm going to jump back in and talk quickly about the integration that we built with HighLevel to enable direct bookings for your customers in the local services ads platform. So next slide. So before we get into what it looks like, why are we doing this? Why did we roll out this booking feature? It's really, there's a value across the ecosystem for every party involved. The providers really appreciate it because these leads are highly qualified. If you think about it, a customer who books an appointment directly with, let's say, a plumber, they have a very high intent of having that job be done, as opposed to other customers who may reach out and call just trying to get some quotes. So the providers really appreciate this. And it also helps reduce operational overhead for answering calls and having to record all these customers' information. On the consumer side, it's a better experience for them. They don't need to spend the time calling and trying to find availability and match up schedules. They can use the booking button to see a provider's calendar and see what matches their schedule. And then the third thing is, across Google, this really is the strategy that we're taking across verticals. And we want to have consistency with home services and with the other local services ads verticals, so that when you go to Google, you know that you can see a provider schedule and schedule an appointment, whether it's in dining or beauty or at home services.
Yeah, I would just
slide.
add to that,
Right.
we've been talking a lot about this, and guys, we all know this, right? We're living it with Uber Eats, food delivery. Like, we want to just be able to book everything without having to actually call anybody. And so we're super excited to roll this integration out, to put this in your fingertips so that your clients are going to be able to get these bookings straight off of Google, right? They're not going to have to leave the search result to get what they want.
Yeah, it's a great point, Chase. Especially over the last couple of years, we have become accustomed to being able to do everything for every business, whether it's ordering food, ordering a car, or booking a home services provider or anything else. Some might call it lazy, others might say it's efficient, but it's the way the world is moving.
Tom just commented that he just booked a mover. So there we go.
Awesome. Great to hear. So these are the verticals that that are eligible for booking right now. So if you can compare this to the view that Elise had showed before, we are trailing a little bit, but as time goes on, the intent is to roll out booking to any eligible LSA vertical that works. So we have coverage right now in home services across all verticals in the US. Professional services, we have lawyers rolling out in the relatively short future. And we are looking at expanding this into Canada and the EU and other countries past that. So for right now, super focused on home services in the US and lawyers soon to come, and we will continue growing this as the product continues to be successful. So this is just a quick demo of what it looks like, the flow of booking. So on the left-hand side, that is what it looks like when you search for a local service near you. So in this case, it's plumbing. As you can see in the first entry, there is that book button. When a customer clicks that book button, they're directed to another screen where they can choose what job they specifically want to book. And then on the right-hand side, it will show the pros availability, which they are getting through the integration with HighLevel. So this is directly connected to the pros calendar, and it shows all the information that a customer might be interested in when making an appointment. So it'll give an estimate of the initial consultation fee that can be free, or you could place it there. There are no payments accepted right now through the product. So this is all paid in cash or however the pro takes it once the appointment is done. and then the availability below. Next slide. As the customer makes the appointment, they're prompted to input their information, including email address, and phone number, so that the pro can reach out if they need to. And then the customer books it, and they're scheduled to have that pro come for the appointment that they scheduled. So they'll receive a confirmation. And then on the next slide, we could see there are 2 emails that customers get. There is an appointment scheduled, and then there is a reminder email before the appointment is scheduled to be had.
And just to reiterate, everybody, this availability is tied to your HighLevel calendar, right? This is the real availability that's being shown. And then when the booking happens, it's a booking in HighLevel. So all the automations that you guys build for your clients are going to kick off when these things get booked.
Yeah, and what's awesome and what we've seen to date is the pros really appreciate this, because their calendars are getting booked up with appointments, and they don't have to worry about whether these appointments are highly qualified or not. These are people who want these pros to show up at their house to complete a job.
Yeah, Christy, good
Cool.
question. And that's right. Yeah, so you can kick off text message reminders, all the good stuff from HighLevel when one of these bookings gets made, if you have this integration activated. So let's take a quick look at how it's going to look on our side. Yeah. All right. So it's really just 6 steps. So first we come over to the integrations page and we click connect under Reserve with Google. That's going to pop up the vertical selector. So you're going to choose which vertical this client is in based on that list that we just saw from Ariel of what's currently available. And then here is where we link your Google Local Services ad account. So this pops open in a new tab in your browser. And this is where the match happens, where Google does the magic of saying like, okay, great, we got it. We figured out what account your client is. And then when you come back here, you're going to get prompted to head over to the calendar config. You'll see that there's this new section in the calendar editor here, connections, and you'll just enable Reserve with Google on this calendar. And then here's where you select that service type within the industry and then put the price on it. So as Ariel pointed out, Google doesn't actually charge them when they make the booking. It just shows them the price, and then it's up to your clients to collect that money however they want to do that. Maybe it's with invoicing in HighLevel now, or text to pay, or cash when they arrive. But this is just basically showing the price. It's not going to actually bill them when they make the booking. And then once you finish your calendar setup, you're going to see the status of pending. So Google has told us that it'll take up to 48 hours to verify everything. And then you'll see that that will light up as connected. And once it's connected, you're good to go. The bookings that happen in Google will show up right inside of HighLevel.
And I just want to add something quickly that in terms of sequencing, how this is done. So the booking is available for providers who have gone through that initial local services process, sign up process, and gotten Google guaranteed, because we want to make sure that we're only sending the best providers to customers. And so, if you have a client that's not on Google local services, you would onboard them through that initial flow that Elise went through. And then once they have an ads account, they would go into HighLevel, do this booking connection, and then they're all set.
Yeah, that's a great point, right? So they have to be on LSA before this will work. And so just so, want to make sure that we're all clear here that you do need to take that step first. If you try to do it and your client isn't on LSA, then it's going to prompt you to start that process. So it is 2-step. That's a prerequisite in order to turn this on. We already talked about all the benefits of LSA though. So if you're working with clients in these industries, I would highly suggest that you go get started on getting them approved so that they get the benefits of the badge, the vetting, the guarantee, the higher placement, all of that stuff. And then you can come activate this new integration. So was there anything important? Okay, so we do have a URL. You guys want to take note. We are going to send you a copy of these slides. I see everybody asking. This is being recorded, so you can find it in the Facebook community as soon as we finish, or we're going to send you the recording as well via email. But here is the link I'm sure everybody's looking for right now. If you want to learn more information about everything that we just talked about, here's where you're going to want to head. And if you guys are good, we could take a couple of questions. We have time for some Q&A.
So Chase, what I did
Yeah.
was just read through a lot of the questions. And what I like to do is just represent the agencies and knock out some of the generally themed questions.
Perfect.
Question one, is it US only? Is it in other countries like Canada or Europe or Australia?
So,
So,
the
right,
booking feature. Oh, sorry, Elise. Yeah. So local services ads is that generally is available across a number of geos. We have an eligibility tool that maybe we can link in the deck that we'll send it out. For booking right now, it is just the US, but there are plans to expand to Canada and other markets, I think, fairly
Okay.
shortly.
And as far as, and I understand that the home services is kind of the beta run of you guys figuring out before you expand into other industries, or will it always stay in the home services space? Like I'm getting questions like, is it good for dentistry, chiropractors? I know you had mentioned attorneys earlier, also digital marketing studios and agencies. What's the thoughts on progressing on the industries?
yeah, on the local services ad side, it is a lead generation for service area businesses. So are exploring and open to all service businesses that will be rolling out, over the next few years. But for
Yeah.
now, that's the list of what's available today.
Okay,
And
what about-
booking, yeah, booking will have this trail time because we like to see what verticals does this work best in. And so home services right now is the mainstay. We're doing our first launch outside of home services and legal, and really, and hope in this quarter, hopefully, and then open to exploring that in any vertical that local services is playing in right now.
Okay, and what about the radius, I guess mileage radius of what we're talking about? What's the good context number to kind of shoot for versus like, regional ads?
It totally depends on how far you're willing to travel. So if
Okay.
it's a service area business and you have a lot of different trucks in the whole metropolitan area, we encourage you to go as wide as you're willing to go. For others, if you are maybe professional services and you're able to do like legal online and willing to travel, I know some lawyers, professional services will target at the state level.
Okay.
But you need to be licensed in the state that you want to serve in. So if you're in a border town, kind of bordering two states, the requirements may differ and you'll have to meet the requirements of both, let's say, California and Nevada, if you're maybe in like the Tahoe area.
Got
Or
it.
if you're in the tri-state upper East Coast, same thing. You need to be meet the verifications of all areas you're targeting, not just where your business is based.
Okay. Next question. Do you guys have any data or ranges on cost of appointments or any kind of numbers of cost of a schedule or even a lead for that matter, even if we have to follow, compared to the regular standard, either GMB services or Google Ads, the classic Google Ads or whatever? Like what are the ranges that we can expect on an appointment through this model?
So the ranges vary, and we could send out in part of the deck a website that you can go to and pick in your state as well as your service vertical and kind of determine what is the lead price. And it may start at maybe $5 in really small towns like, Biloxi, Mississippi, and maybe, $150 or $200 for some things like legal in New York City. So it definitely ranges depending on the vertical. We see things like house cleaning, carpet cleaning are more on the low end. Some things like HVAC, general contracting, water service, water damage restoration are more on the high end, but there's a big variation. A booking lead and a phone call are the same price, which is actually really great. And then we also offer messaging leads, which are about 50% of the cost of a phone or booking lead.
Got it. And I think it's interesting that there's accountability on both sides, that in case if you get the wrong lead or wrong appointment and you can show proof that this guy's not even close by, there's a way to refund that back into your clients. Question.
Also, let me jump in because I see people asking the same question over and over. This integration is not live in your HighLevel account right now yet. So we are almost we're super close to the launch, but we wanted to do this webinar with a little bit of lead time to give everyone the chance to start the LSA process if you haven't already with your clients. So I don't know if we have the exact date on the calendar yet, Sean or Ariel, but I know that it's right around the corner.
Right around the corner. It's very close. Yeah, it will not be long. So this should.
As soon as these people let us out the gate, we'll be good.
And Paulson, I just want to double click on one thing that Elise said, which is phone calls and bookings are the same price right now. And so when you're thinking about, best bang for your buck for your pros and getting the highest intent, that's where the bookings really come in, because we see incredibly high conversion rates from booking to job completion. And so, phone calls are really highly qualified also, but turning on this booking integration gives you an additional advantage for your clients over ones that aren't HighLevel clients.
Yeah, and I want to.
Yeah, we also.
I was going to say, Peter asked a question right in line with what you just said. If you guys go start searching, you're not going to see a ton of the book buttons yet because this is so new, right? So this is a huge opportunity to get your clients out there with the Reserve with Google turned on, because over the next couple of years, it's going to become the standard, right?
Yeah, and I would say right now, enabling booking does impact your ranking, but we do see and hear a lot of feedback that we see a higher conversion to impressions. So if you see a list of 4 or 5 businesses, you may be willing to pick the one who's 4th or 5th on the list if you see that calendar and that's actually your preference. So it is a great way to really help your business stand out, because most of the other businesses do not have that calendar option. And nowadays people don't like talking. They just want to do everything remote and kind of get it booked.
Okay, I got a question. Have we covered this already? So I'm a client. You tell me how great this is. I get my first lead. They call me or whatever, and they're not qualified. They're like a tire kicker. I don't like them. Now what?
So I'm not sure what a tire kicker, if they are
I don't know
actually
what a tire kicker is. Oh my goodness. All right. Somebody who wants to just kick the tires, not a real buyer. They're not qualified. I don't like them. They're not going to spend any money. They're a bad lead.
So there is a list of things that qualify as what is technically good and bad. So for you, that may be a bad lead because they're not actually going to book it. But if they are calling about questions for a service you said they offer and a location you said that you support, and they're asking you questions, then that is to us a lead that you will be charged for.
Okay. And is there a dispute process?
There is a dispute process. So whenever you see a lead, there's a button that says dispute this charge. I dispute this lead, and then the reason of why you're wanting to dispute it. So if it's something like a spam call, or there was no human on the other line, a solicitation, they're trying to sell you, I don't know, phone books or something random. All of those are reasons that you can go ahead and dispute it. All calls are recorded, so we use some machine learning. So you'll see that not every call is charged and monetized at the front end. There are some that from hearing on the call, we know it's spam, we know there's no humans on the phone, and we don't even charge that to begin with. But then the next layer is you have control of disputing those leads.
So I am protected at some level from bad calls or bad leads.
Correct. But again, what you call a bad lead, someone else might consider a good lead because they actually have the ability to convert, or that person calls back. So entertaining,
Well, I know, but see, I work with agencies who work with real businesses in the world, and trust me, they hear about bad leads all the time. So you got to be ready. And so this helps them a lot, because when they're pitching these things, right, bad leads to a plumber is somebody who didn't get their plumbing job through them. And so ultimately, at the end of the day, we want to just be ready to at least say, hey, well, all the obvious ones, spammers and scammers and people who come in and fill out the form and say, hey, I know you're an LSA person, but would you like to buy a new website design from me? Like that kind of stuff, they love to know is protected.
Correct.
I've got a question for you. Speaking of the agencies, Elise and Ariel, what are some of the best practices that you guys are seeing as far as how they package these things up for those customers? Are they charging per appointment, per call, or do you see the standard, Google ad agency that are on a retainer? What are some of the best business practices that y'all are seeing through agencies and working with agencies that you're on board and things like that?
There's definitely a range. I'm not going to say one thing works best. It's really about who you as an agency, what kind of clients you want to target. We have some agencies that charge a setup fee. So they're charged between $100 and $1,000 to set up the LSA account, and then a monthly fee to continue maintaining it, anywhere from, let's say, $50 to $200. Others charge a percent of total revenue. So a 5, 10, 20% markup on all ad spend. Others actually do it for free because they see get an LSA as a great way to acquire new clients. So they'll set up their LSA for free and then hope to sell them on some other higher spending things like managing the review reputation, SEO, website management. So there is no one best practice. There's a lot of different ways to monetize. I would say that the agencies who are successful sometimes have the tech integration and are using things like HighLevel and booking integrations or other APIs to kind of help manage money clients at scale. I did paste in the chat, and you can send it out an email. We do have a form if you're an agency with 10 to 100, 1,000 plus accounts. We do have a dedicated account management team to help you. It is limited on who qualifies, but feel free to fill out the form and we can kind of take a look to see if you meet the thresholds and then reach out to you for some help with onboarding support. We also have a phone number that you guys could call into for general either onboarding support or account management support. But for the kind of bigger, like helping me manage my hundreds of accounts, we do have a specialist team for that.
So
and yes, this isn't separate from your PPC or Google Ads rep. So I would recommend, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say another theme I'm seeing in the comments here are, where do we go to get this set up? And I saw somebody ask a good question about sort of that hierarchy that you showed of like the MCC, the sub MCC. So I'm going to throw a link into the chat. This is the main LSA URL, but it's kind of geared towards a business going there directly. Is there a better place that agencies should go as far as kicking this off?
I would say creating a manager account first. So I can send a link for like creating a Google Ads and manager account specific for LSA. And then it'll be creating the CIDs through that flow. We do have a bulk upload process. So if you have an MCC, you can create like a spreadsheet with all your locations to kind of upload at once. But if you have a lot of accounts, I recommend you talking to a specialist first to kind of discuss like, these are the clients I have, these are the locations, here's the volume. I have a brand with 30 locations versus I have 100 locations and each are individually managed, and kind of have that conversation to make sure you're setting it up appropriately at the onset. Will save you a lot of time down the road.
Could you throw that link into the chat again? I think it might have gotten pushed way up.
Yeah, I'll throw in that 1-800 number that you can call in for support. Which everyone can use, as well as, in addition, the form you could fill out to kind of try to get dedicated one-to-one support.
At least that MCC account you're talking about, is that the same one that we use for Google Ads specifically?
Correct. Yes.
I've got a question for Sean and Chase when it comes to the integration side. Who qualifies, which agencies qualify for that particular aspect? Is it pro only? Is it going to be available for everybody? Do they have
everybody?
Okay, cool. And what's the timeline on that again? We don't know, or maybe a month, 2 months?
Well, technically speaking, it's already live behind the scenes because that's how we roll, but it's only visible to the people that we turn it on to because we're waiting for Google to test with a couple live accounts and then give us the thumbs up because we want to do a really good job making sure everything is perfect, but we're darn close.
But Ariel shaking his head. He said, not months.
Not months. No, it's very, like Sean said, all we're doing is waiting for live testing with a couple of accounts, and then we're going to flip it on for everybody.
Awesome.
Okay, very cool. I see Connor Corkin has a question. Connor, do you want to unmute yourself and ask your question?
Yeah. Hey, how's it going, guys? Appreciate it. My only question is on the back end of HighLevel. You're connecting typically like one Google account per sub account, at least we do. Do you have to have only that account connected in order to utilize this, or can you connect maybe their GBP through another Google account and then their LSA account that you manage that through with a different one?
I don't know off the top of my head, but what would be the use case for connecting a business? I mean, if it's the business, right? You have their Google business profile and then their ad account. Why would it be different?
A lot of the times business owners aren't open to sharing their own Google logins that they have the GBP under. So instead they just add one of our management accounts.
Okay, so I think you're saying if your agency has access to it, can you connect it for them?
Essentially, yeah.
And I believe the answer is yes, right? When you do the match, Ariel, it goes out, and if the account that you're signed into has access to.
Yeah, if you have access to their local services ads sign-in account, then you'll just log in. It's like a typical Google login window that you'll be directed to. But it sounded like, Connor, you're asking if you could have different accounts connected within HighLevel to different businesses. Is that right? So your local services ads account, I suppose in theory could be a different ads account than the GBP, but I don't want to speak for the specifics on the HighLevel side.
Okay, I'll get with them about that. Appreciate it, guys.
Cool. Paulson, did you have any others noted down that you wanted to cover? We've got about 2 minutes left.
Yeah, I think we covered majority of the questions, I believe. One other one that I can think of is the licensing check, the background check, and some of that legal component. What goes into that? Like, how can a business be not qualified for something like that? Just so they understand the pros and cons of that process.
Yeah, I mean, they want you to hold the verification we require. So there's a list of, if you're HVAC in California or HVAC in Miami, there's a different license that we require you hold. So if the business or the master technician of that account doesn't hold a license, they are not eligible. Or if we require a minimum of, let's say, $1 million of general liability insurance, and they only offer 500,000 of liability insurance, they do not qualify, or they will have to go and increase their insurance coverage. And then on the background check, there is a list of things that we look for when performing the background checks. Not every vertical requires background checks, and then the degree to which we background check varies too. So for some verticals, let's say for legal, Google does not perform any background checks. For something like house cleaning or carpet cleaning, we only require background checks for the business owner and at the business entity level. But for something like HVAC or a locksmith, we require background checks for the business owner, business entity, and all field workers who will be going into the homes for those clients.
Got
So
it.
if you do not pass any of those checks, you will not be eligible.
What's the typical turnaround time? So if I work with an HVAC and I want to get started tomorrow on getting them LSA approved, what is that time frame typically?
It depends on how quickly you get all the documentation in. So if you can get everything in within 24, 48 hours, then we say between like 1 and 2 weeks. Sometimes there are COVID slowdowns, and court closures that impacts it because it is kind of relying on our background check partner. And then if you're a business where you need to submit, 5 or 10 or 15 different employees, getting them all to submit it on time and complete, that takes the longest time. So for some companies that we require field worker background checks, and they do have 10 plus employees, that could take 3 or 4 weeks. It's really how quickly can you get all the documents submitted. Some businesses go live within 24, 48 hours if they provide everything up front. It just really depends.
Great. All right, well, we just hit the hour, so let's end there. I think that's a good place to end. So if you guys are working with folks in these industries, now would be a great time to go help them kick off the LSA process, because by the time they get approved, we will have this integration live and ready for you guys to connect it to
all the
HighLevel.
stuff be available, Chase? The recording,
Yeah,
the
recording is going to be up any minute in Facebook in the group. It's already recording right now. The YouTube recording will be up tomorrow, and we will send you guys a recap email with the recording, next steps on the Google side, as well as a survey that we would much appreciate you guys filling out.
Okay.
Cool. Well, thank you. Let's give these guys a digital round of applause in the comments there. Thank you guys so much for coming to hang out with us. And
Great job, Google. There you go. Is that your first webinar for LSA?
That's our first webinar. Yeah.
You crushed it. Good job. That's how you do it.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming along. Bye,
We're
everybody.
happy to come back anytime.
Yes. Thank you.
Bye.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody.